Did you hear that there's a serious update about Michael Schumacher's health? Yes, there's been a piece of crucial information regarding the legendary F1 driver's current situation. Let's see. In the sport, there's no need to introduce Michael Schumacher, the 7-time world champion, any further. The awful tragedy in the French Alps has robbed him and his family of a lovely life, but many feel he had a lot more to offer the sport, with all the knowledge and expertise he possessed after winning 2 championships with Benetton and 5 with Ferrari. Even while Schumacher is still alive, the information that has come from the people closest to him, including his brother Ralph, is not very positive, and it's quite likely that we won't see another Schumacher like this. The tragic accident that happened to Michael Schumacher 10 years ago, on December 29, 2014, happened in the French Alps while he was having a light skiing session with his 14-year-old son. Although Schumacher was wearing a helmet, the impact was so severe that he had to be placed in a medically induced coma for 250 days. The paradox is that Schumacher was somewhat shaken but able to walk immediately following the accident. However, after being moved to Groby, his symptoms worsened and he needed to be rushed to the nearest hospital. The 7-time world champion's condition reportedly deteriorated to a point where doctors had to drill holes in his skull to relieve pressure on his brain after Schumacher underwent emergency surgery, followed by another procedure throughout the night. The Schumachers were forced to put their loved one in a medically induced coma, and Michael had to live in this state for 250 days. The fact that his family and the entire world were unsure whether he would survive the 250 days of medically induced coma speaks volumes about the extensive damage that Michael's brain tissue has suffered. However, once Michael woke up, it became clear that he would live a life that you wouldn't want to wish upon your worst enemy. So all of this called for a decision that not many would want to make. Unable to move or speak, the only human ability Michael has retained is the capacity for emotion, which again seems like a curse because he is unable to express it in any way following his hospitalization. Since September 2014, Michael has continued to recover at home in Switzerland, where his family has requested the utmost discretion from the media, allowing no interviewers or paparazzi to enter their home. However, a select group of people are permitted to visit Michael and are sharing some information with his family's prior consent. Regarding the German driver's current health, which we don't think any human being out there would want to know more about, Ralf Schumacher, who has had the good fortune to work with Michael, has provided the most recent information. Michael is 7 years older than the former Toyota and Williams driver, and Ralph elaborated on his current condition, sharing news that was extremely upsetting and emotional. I can say that his accident was a very bad and drastic experience for me, but, of course, even more so for his children. Mick, as we all know, was there as a young teenager back then. Unfortunately, life wasn't always fair, and unfortunately, there was a lot of bad luck here too. Michael was not only my brother when we were kids, but he was also my coach and mentor. He taught me everything about karting. There may be an age gap of 7 years, but he was always by my side. We raced together, we practiced overtaking maneuvers, and everything that matters in motorsports. He shared all that he had learned in 7 years. I had the honor to learn from the best. I miss my Michael from back then. Life is sometimes unfair. Michael had often been lucky in his life, but then this tragic accident happened. Thankfully, modern medical options have made it possible to do some things, but still, nothing is like it used to be. Although Schumacher's family's desire to keep everything private prevents the media from learning more about his state, including his ability to move his extremities in unison with his brain and perform various motions, Ralph's statements make it clear that Michael's condition has not changed significantly. Ralph is not the only person who has offered insight and information about Michael's health. Johnny Herbert, a former teammate who raced alongside Michael in Benetton during the 1990s, stated that while it would be wonderful to have Michael return, the likelihood of that happening is dwindling with every passing day. Herbert also highlighted the enormous gap that Schumacher left in his son's racing experience as a mentor and his presence in the sport. When discussing this issue even more, Johnny mentioned that Mick had mentioned that he could always talk to Michael about racing prior to the accident. Michael would have been a big help, and that father-son relationship would have been a very beneficial thing for Mick, but Mick never had that, unfortunately. He only had that relationship up until the skiing accident. Michael Schumacher also shared a very special bond with his former manager, Gene Todt, who also opened up about the 7-time world champion's current state, stating that he's just not the Michael he used to be. He is unique. All of these brief interviews indicate that the family is beginning to value the privacy they have been receiving for the past few years, but nothing would make Michael the same person again, despite recent reports of some very intriguing ways to try to stimulate his brain. For example, according to B, the 7-time world champion Michael has been driving in a Mercedes-AMG GT Forder, which is a method frequently used in medicine to try to stimulate the brain in patients who have suffered from severe brain injuries. Time will tell if this had a beneficial impact on Michael's health, but since familiar sounds will stimulate Michael's brain, we should expect this to happen more frequently in the future. After all, every small detail matters. In an effort to give Michael the best 24-hour care possible, 15 physicians, nurses, and helpers are now neglecting him. And his wife Karina has tight guidelines about who is permitted to visit their care facility. According to his wife, she is now going about her daily activities exactly as Michael would have wanted. However, based on everything we've heard so far, things don't seem good for Michael's long-term health. Nevertheless, there is some good news for fans of Formula One. Next month, a new documentary will give them a rare look into the legendary life of the driver and explain how he rose to the pinnacle of motorsport driving. It's unclear whether the skiing accident will play a role in this. Thus, it's incredibly implausible for us to expect to see and hear more about the accident's aftermath and how Michael is doing on a daily basis now, given all the privacy the family has requested. However, we must remember that this is a highly private subject and that the family's demands must be met. With his experience, Michael has also left a huge void in Formula One because, as Johnny Herbert has noted, from 2010 to 2013, Mercedes was able to dominate the turbo hybrid era, primarily because of his expertise. After Hamilton replaced him, the Brit went on to win 6 championships with the Bramble Bay squad. Herbert elaborated on this topic even further, saying that while the void Schumacher left in Formula One is still very much there, it is not nearly as great as the one his family is currently experiencing after having to watch him in that state every day. When the accident occurred, it was a major shock for everyone because he had been such a fixture around the paddock, winning so many championships and being highly respected by the current drivers. Not just the current flock at the time, but probably by almost all of them now. When you asked them who their favorite driver was as a child, they would have said Michael. Seeing Michael on the track inspired them to pursue their dream of being in Formula One, and many drivers today still draw inspiration from that experience. Since his father was a teammate in 1994, Max is a prime example of someone with a very similar mindset. In fact, I believe Joss has attempted to instill much of what Michael stood for as a driver, a person, and someone who contributes to his team while working within a team structure to achieve his own goals. The only person who has utilized many of Michael's techniques in their own life is him. At this point, modern medicine is limited in its ability to help, and while there is still hope that Michael's general health may improve, the circumstances are not encouraging, given the statements made by Michael's family recently. Nevertheless, this is a matter that will take even longer to resolve, and if we are able to see Michael return to a recognizable form, the entire Formula One community will be incredibly grateful to all those that made it possible in the first place. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative, then don't forget to hit that like button below. And if you want to stay updated with more great content like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel by clicking the red button and just ringing the notification bell so you never miss any future content from us. Your support means the world to us.